And finally, one more thing. Bam. No, that's the wrong one. We're not taking a break.
Oh, you got your you're running your Elgato?
I don't have my Stream Deck set up for the new profile yet. Unfortunately. I've changed my scene collection a little bit. As you can see. Which one is it? Where is... Yes, phone. I know you're there. You're going to get muted here in just a minute. Is it intermission? Yeah. Oh no, this hasn't been set up with my camera yet.
Well, wouldn't you run your camera through Discord so you get and window cap that so you get everybody, or how are you doing it?
No.
I'm doing the pop out thing.
Let's get rid of that placeholder. Delete. Yes, delete the placeholder. Live on stream layout finishing.
There's always a little bit of technical difficulties at the beginning.
Oh yeah, because like this is the first time I've used this intermission scene.
Well, while you're working, we could go ahead and get the discussion rolling.
May as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
While I'm bringing up the camera feed. So, Global Accessibility Awareness Day was yesterday. Mm-hmm. Did you guys watch any of the big talks or anything like that went on?
I didn't. I played Final Fantasy 14 part of the day and listened to an audiobook the rest of the day.
I actually caught Steve Saylor's talk. He got to be on the front page of Twitch yesterday, and it was really exciting.
I heard about that.
I heard about it too. I just didn't catch it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was there. It was insane. It was cool, though. It was nice to be a part of it.
Yeah, I did see on Twitter that Super Blind Man had over 23,000 people watching at one point for his.
Oh yeah, he was on there. I think right before Steve was, but it was. I didn't catch his, but it was so cool.
I give Twitch props for putting this stuff on the front page yesterday again, despite everything else going on. Like,
yeah,
I was actually on the front page last year.
Cool.
Yeah. It was alright. I mean, I can't really complain too much. It was alright.
Which, Twitch was a different platform a year ago than it is now. But that's
very much so.
But it does seem like overall, though, it was a good Global Accessibility Awareness Day. A lot of interesting stuff happened, and so I've thoroughly enjoyed hearing after the fact about everything. And the game media, like how much they promoted stuff. Like Microsoft made a big tweet spiel about it, and other different companies. Like, I found that really cool. To give people information. Like,
definitely.
On Twitter
for that.
That made me smile, if you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. There we go. Now we're set up, right? You guys got to see some live stream editing from a blind guy.
Got a barcode on the right side?
Yeah, that's part of the overlay.
Ah. Okay.
A bit weird,
Cool.
I know, but it came with the overlay, so I'm not gonna knock it.
You have daily.
Yeah, I still have the supporter bar down there. I need to hide that.
I saw your days live. It says 17 to 2 o'clock, 17 to 2, 17 to 2, 17 to 2, 17 to 2, and then
Yeah,
17
because
to
I haven't set my schedule up on the overlay yet. Like I said, this is the first time I've used this part of the overlay.
Yeah,
so we'll just do that. Yo, Pulse.
So, if I remember correctly, the main thing you were wanting to discuss was the how we do gaming with our vision and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell people this: the key for me is Windows magnifier. When I'm playing something especially an MMO, I'm zooming in probably at least 10, 15, 20 seconds out of every minute. I'm zooming in and zooming out to read stuff. It's constant Windows key plus, Windows key minus. I wish it was just like the Mac, control and scroll wheel. Just control flick up, I'm zoomed in. Control flick down, but no, you gotta take your hand off the mouse.
There we go. I had the information that's not up to date on this alert.
Yeah, probably a good idea. Don't want people to...
Hmm?
I said you don't want people... I'm going.
Go ahead.
You're good.
You mentioning MMOs made me think back to when I was very into playing WoW. Actually, I don't know. I don't remember if that's when you played or not. But yeah. I love when you can get games, and yeah, they're not built accessibly, but when you can get a mod or something that lets you enlarge the font for your quest logs and your arrow keys to show you which direction you're supposed to go in, stuff like that is so great.
Whenever I played WoW, I just recently moved to Final Fantasy 14 from WoW, but when I was playing WoW, I ran an add-on called Sexy Map, and it let me move the map around and make it bigger.
Oh, nice.
So I have a picture somewhere I'll have to dig up and send you later, but I had the map just gigantic, and that's how Final Fantasy 14 actually lets you do all that stuff built in without add-on.
Amazing.
And I'm loving that.
Great. That's great.
Guild Wars 2 has some resizing, but it's not nearly as good as FF14's.
Now, Guild Wars 2 is still pretty old as well, isn't it? Hasn't it been around a little while?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It still runs on DirectX 9, and ironically, they're actually about to have another expansion coming out.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. And so does Final Fantasy. They're both going strong.
It seems like so many of those older games, I don't know if that they've added, the ones that have been around so long and are still, say monthly subscription based, are still adding content. It doesn't seem like some of them focus very heavily on accessibility. We're just going to add content. We don't care what you guys do otherwise. But it's, I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah, a lot of MMOs don't. But I will say they are a little bit better. Like in Final Fantasy, I can pick any font size for my chat. My chat's at a 24-point font size, and then I made the box bigger. Yeah. And the only downside in that game is the quest arrow on your minimap only shows if you're in that zone. So you're going to do a lot of pulling up the map and then using Windows magnifier to look around on the map to see which zone you need to go to next. So you might walk around a good bit magnified in looking at the map, but it works.
Sometimes maps are the hardest part of a game. Chat is whatever. Very often chat is just like you described. You can make it a little bigger, at least a little bigger. But maps are
at least big enough to manage.
Well, in FF, you can pick you can type in any font size you want.
That's awesome.
Now, whether you want to make the box big enough to see, so it's not just 2 words in a line.
Yes.
And the bigger the font size is, the bigger you're going to need to make the chat box, and the more it's going to block. But you can do
That's
it.
another problem. That's another problem.
Another thing I like about Guild Wars 2's overlay is they've got dynamic HUD elements.
Where they can
Is,
hide.
I think the way they put it. Where like, let's say you enter combat and being low vision, I don't want a big chat box taking up the bottom third of my screen, bottom third corner of my screen while I'm sitting there trying not to die.
Yeah.
So the moment I enter combat, I've got it set so that the chat goes away.
Okay.
It's automatic.
That's useful.
That's good until you're in a dungeon and you need to see what other people are saying.
That's true, but
It's fine in the main world, but once you start running dungeons and someone might pop a message.
Why do you think I will only do dungeons with a guild of people who are in Discord in voice with me?
Yeah.
Now you understand why I said any guild I join for GW2 has to be in Discord and has to use voice. Hard requirement.
Yeah.
makes sense. I would think even for somebody who's not visually impaired, that would be easier. I mean, that's just me, but like that's just like a general thing.
Yeah, but at least the guilds I've been in, if it's a big event, everyone's in Discord. But if it's not like a big guild-wide event or something pre-planned, then people just use the in-game features unless everyone wants to get in Discord. Usually it's, oh, if it's just random, hey, anyone want to do dungeons? They just all group up and use in-game chat. But it's, hey, let's run dungeons on Wednesday from noon to 10 o'clock at night. Then everyone gets in Discord, like for a planned event.
Yes, Pulse, mods do help. The thing is my take on it is we shouldn't have to rely on a third party to make a game accessible for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But, yeah. What I was going to say, though, before I was distracted by the mods comment, is that if I had my personal way, and I thought I could get away with it without certain other disability advocates getting onto me about it, because, yes, there's a lot of disabilities and a lot of broad spectrums, but I would love to make an MMO without text chat. Voice is your only option. But
you have to have some text chat.
No text chat. Voice chat or no chat. That if
but
I
when
had
you're in
my
a
way
big
to make
city
an
and there's
MMO.
700 people sending guild requests, you just hear 1,000 people talking at once. Hey, join our guild! Or I'm selling this. Like, you've got to have some text chat, or it's going to be just so unbearable. You're going to want to throw your headphones in the floor.
It would be a little crazy. That's a hard one.
Because, like, I know in Final Fantasy XIV, if you go to one of the major cities, there are sometimes 200, 400, 500 people once in the city, and the chat's just, same with WoW.
Well, see, this is why I would do this in a very interesting and unique way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like in reality, if you go to a very crowded area and you hear a lot of people talking, as you're in the middle of that area, it does kind of sound like a murmur of noise. Now, what I would do is I would take that and I would use positional, directional, almost like 3D spatial audio.
Yeah.
So that anything within a certain amount of like units or distance or whatever of your character, you would hear clearly. But anything outside of that would be heavily reduced in volume so that it just sounds about like background conversation in a crowd at a concert.
But what about inter-zone chat where, people are posting zone-wide so every single person in the area gets the notification? Like, that's the big thing in those games.
There isn't.
We'll say ESO on console has that, but not the PC release. The console release is all voice chat. There's no text chat. And so you go in city, and I personally think they should get rid of it and go back to text chat. It's so annoying when you're running a city and someone's blasting music through their mics, or like have it if you're in a party, voice chat, but text chat for everything. I don't want to go around and hear non-game music while I'm exploring a city because someone's being stupid.
Well, see, that's why I would do the reduced audio levels sort of thing.
Well, it does that too. As you get closer to people, it gets louder. But still, it needs to be. If I click on you, I hear you. If not, it's text chat.
That
or if I'm in a party with you.
The one who's talking now is blind PC guy Pulse.
Yeah.
He says you've got a heavy accent.
Yeah, Arkansas.
Arkansas.
I always laugh about that because I always
Yeah.
expect it to be me in the chat. Like, who's that Southern person? I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't know who you're talking about. But yeah,
Southern
that's
person?
blind PC guy.
But
Exactly.
but ESO on console, the whole chat system is done through voice chat. When you're running around, you'll hear people like you'll be in the around questing, and someone will be like, "I need help," or they're always voice chat, but they use traditional text chat on PC.
Yeah, but see, I would love for audio to get that immersive and positional.
Let that eat some processing power.
And they do a good job.
Yeah.
ESO, it's okay if you're on stereo, but like whenever I played ESO on PlayStation and I had my whole 6-speaker surround sound, they nail it. Now it's crap if you only have 2 speakers, but give yourself a whole home theater, and that positional audio for their voice chat system was beautiful. Because you can hear stuff behind you, in your back left speaker, your back right, your fronts.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
I'm a big audio guy. To me, anyone with low vision should have 5.1 surround sound at minimum, 7.1 recommended, at most with high channels, even better. Because it helps them so much when you're gaming. You can't use it while you're streaming, but if you're just gaming by yourself, having a surround sound, it can make you do so much better in a game because you get that positional awareness.
And if you're
And it's not
streaming,
simulated.
if you can afford it, they do sell good surround sound headphones, but the problem with most of those headphones is that you actually have to have an actual sound card on your PC that's got the audio input jacks.
Yeah, but that doesn't even support the most modern standards. Most systems now, and even the headphones, you're still only on 2 speakers, even if they're more of a simulated, trying to do it the best with 2 ears. To get true surround sound, you need dedicated, you'd have to have dedicated, speakers in the headset, and somehow have to do space. Surround sound, you have your front, left, and right in your front corners, the middle ones in the middle, then your back, left, and right behind you, a couple subwoofers, and nowadays you got 2 or 4 speakers above you. So rain and stuff, you'll actually get high positional. And that is, to me, if a game can make good surround sound, that is one of the best things they can do to help with someone with low vision playing in a game. But yes, they have to have the hardware to make use of it. Modern audio video receiver with HDMI, because it all hooks up through HDMI. And then goes out to your speakers and to your TV.
Well, I actually had, before they got stolen, I couldn't use them, but I actually had a set of true 5.1 headphones.
Yeah.
And they actually had 4 or 5 speakers inside of each ear cup.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem was, instead of having a single cable connector, it had the full surround sound connector.
Yeah. It had everything for classic sound. You couldn't do the modern DTSX or Atmos or True HD. You could do basic Dolby Digital and stuff like that with those kind of headsets. Because that modern stuff has to go through an HDMI decoder to get the current standards. And it's a big upgrade.
Not necessarily. A majority of sound cards, actual sound cards these days, if they are true audiophile sound cards, they will have what's called a DAC built in.
Yeah, the DAC, yeah.
Then you can use those headphones plugged into that sound card and get the same Dolby DTS experience.
But I've never seen a sound card on a PC that has 7.1.4, because almost all of those would run through an HDMI to your AV receiver, and then your AV receiver takes that signal and decodes it to lossless PCM Atmos sound. It's not compressed with Dolby or anything. It's just the raw, and then your home theater receiver takes care of all that. Your AVR.
Yeah.
But I was saying, in terms of game design, though, another game that does it really well, I don't know about on PC, but on console, Destiny 2, if you're using the in-game chat, has that positional awareness where if you're not using a party chat and you're talking to your friends while you're in a mission, they'll even have the effect like they're wearing their helmet, and you'll hear their voice through the game and like echo of the area and where they're positioned in the map. And if they get too far away, you can't hear them.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of games have that tech you were talking about, Glitch. It's just the PC versions don't use it. It's console.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's annoying, is what it is.
Because at least most games on PC, they expect everybody has a keyboard. Really, another solution would be if these kind of games would have an option to read the chat to you. And if you wanted to block certain types of messages, you could.
Here's my answer. I'm looking at this. You remember that Blizzard fiasco with Diablo Immortals?
Yeah.
This is like the devs looking at all the blind people in the world goes, what? You've got keyboards, don't you? And we're just looking at them like, glaring at them like, yeah, but we don't have working eyes.
But to me, the solution for now would be text, text to speech. Give us a solution that would read the chat. So then you could keep the MMO chat and give us filters. Like, let's say I only want to hear stuff from my guild, or if I'm in a city, I only want to hear market board posts, or X, Y, or Z. I could go in and say, okay, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want to hear while I'm here. Oh, I only want to hear looking for group. So then you're not just flooded with everything. And, give you that granular control, but text to speech would solve the problem, in my opinion. For, you know what I mean? Without a voice system, if you use a classic chat system.
I don't know, like, the biggest problem with any classic chat system is the flood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You would need very heavy filters.
Yeah.
Like, I would want to not just have LFG. I would want to have the ability to fully drill down and be like, LFG, Dungeon X, or Zone Y. And you only have messages read about that specific subsection of people looking for a group.
Yeah. I don't know. It's nice in MMO if you're wanting to do one thing, but someone says, like in WoW, for example, if you have it set up and someone's like, oh, I have a Mythic Plus key, you were going to run with someone who has a key that's level 2, and someone has a key that's level 8. And because you have it set to hear it all, or you're reading it all, you might go, okay, let's go do that level 8 instead. That's completely on the opposite side of the game. It's a different content, but we get more rewards because it's a level 8. We'll do the level 2 some other time. Things like that.
Hey, I don't actually know how many, like, that would actually be a good topic to research.
Oh, hey, Logic.
Is how much would it add to a game to add voice chat as a feature?
Honestly, most games already have it. It's just that's not used. Like, I know WoW has a voice chat system where you can use it, but nobody does. It's optional, and it's partying up with your friends. Everyone just uses Discord.
Like, see, that's entirely my point, right?
Yeah.
Like, looking for group chats and stuff like that is great for public, unless you have a disability that makes those chats unusable. Then how are you supposed to experience the traditional MMO experience? meeting up with and playing with random people in this massive open world.
Well, thankfully, most MMOs nowadays have, the dungeon finder, the duty finder, or the dungeon finder, and, party finder things where, you can, like in Final Fantasy, you can go in there and pick any of the dungeons you've unlocked and only select it, and it'll only queue you for that one dungeon you want to do. And then you can queue up with randos and run the dungeon. That is an option.
I get that, but you still have to be able to follow the chat if you're playing certain roles.
Mm-hmm. That's why I only do DPS. Then just hit the enemies. Tab target, hit tab. Tell the like in Final Fantasy, hit tab, and while you're running around, tell the arrows pop up over an enemy. Then start doing my rotation. When the arrow disappears, hit tab again. Tell I'm on another enemy. At least that's what I do.
Yeah, that won't work well with Guild Wars 2. Even in tab target mode, that won't work well.
That's how I've been playing Guild Wars 2, and it's been fine. I can hear the sound effects of when there's enemies around. I just start turning my camera and hitting tab, then I see it pop up over the enemy, and I just start using my spells. Because I'm playing a mage, so I'm ranged.
Yeah.
That's why I do usually a ranged DPS, so I can hit stuff from a distance. When I hit tab and lock on, I can just start spamming spells. So that's how. At least that's how I've always done it.
I think I ever got to that point when I was playing MMOs that I used features like that. That sounds really helpful.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I played an MMO though. So.
And I don't use the mouse. I do macros where all of my attacks are on my keyboard. Like in Final Fantasy 1 through 12, and then Control 1 for my second hotbar.
Yep.
And I pretty much use the keyboard.
One thing I will say about Guild Wars 2 is the base game is now free, so if you ever decide to get back into trying MMOs...
And when you buy it, there's no sub fee. It's by the...
That's nice.
Now, Final Fantasy has a free trial as well, up to level 60 in the first 2 expansions as well. But then you have to buy the game and pay a sub fee after that. Yeah. A lot of MMOs are starting to have really generous free trials.
Kind of nice, actually, because some of them are very expensive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm also looking forward to checking out Sword of Legend online that's coming out sometime this summer. They're supposed to be having a beta weekend, and I'm gonna check out some streams of it later and see how it looks. I think the beta starts next week. Well, no one's seen the gameplay yet. It's another one of those buy to play, $40. But outside
over
of
here
them,
in Western markets, it's a buy to play $40. But I think it's already been out in the Korean markets already.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it has.
And with that being the case, some people have already found a way to play it, and they say it sucks.
Ah, okay. But then outside, we talked about MMOs for a bit, but for other games, there's just so much, that developers can do that, to make gaming more accessible. I'll give Microsoft props, and Nintendo and PlayStation for putting a magnifier on their consoles, allowing you to zoom in.
Now, Nintendo, come on, where's our screen reader? You're so close, you're almost there.
I don't have much faith in Nintendo. I don't.
I don't either.
I'm just happy there's Yes, which is really sad. Like, it's sad to realize that I'm just happy for this one tiny little thing. Like, that should not be the case.
No.
Yeah, because PlayStation and Xbox both have screen readers on the system.
Yes.
Now they're limited because they don't work when you open a game inside the games.
That's true.
It's in part a cultural difference. Like, as far as Nintendo goes, it's a cultural difference, right? Because Nintendo is a heavily Japanese company. Sony, on the other hand, pretty much moved their main headquarters out of Japan and says, you know what, we're US-centric now. They did so many things that
PlayStation
alienated.
has.
Yeah, they've alienated a lot of
Their Japanese player
their
base.
Japanese player base because they went
Right.
all Western, and
But
in-going all Western, accessibility is a much bigger concern in the Western world than it is in Japan.
But what's crazy is outside of gaming, accessibility is huge over in Japan. Like they've got way more accessible, like walkways and craziness over there, like in bigger cities, like in Tokyo and stuff. Like
Only in bigger cities.
yeah. I'm saying like over there, if you're in Tokyo, it's way more accessible than it is here in the U.S. Like actually getting out. Like I've been told, there's a system in place that you can use through an app where you can pretty well, if you're using a cane, they have it set where with a cane you can tell when there's a new store or when there's a new business property and things actually there's crap like that going on, so you can better navigate. Like I read an article about that like 5 years ago.
Like I said, only in the bigger cities.
Yeah.
You go outside of, say, Tokyo into the surrounding little provinces, you as good as screwed.
Mm-hmm. Which if I went to Japan, Tokyo is where I'd spend all my time. I'd be like at Akihabara and
You should. Logic server is awesome.
So I've heard. He's told me about it.
Yes, it is.
I'm considering it.
It is quite epic.
I need to go actually purchase the game because when I played before, either was on console or was on a non-purchase version of the game.
That's me in chat, Blinds Bar. I did a channel rebrand a few weeks ago. I still haven't made a video about it, but I did a channel. So that's me. But other than that, though, yeah, Japan, they are a lot more. Because even look at the older Sony systems. PS3 really didn't have any accessibility features.
Nope, it didn't.
Which really, the 360 really didn't either.
Nope.
It was really the Xbox One and the PS4 where consoles started having assistive features and actually worrying about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But essentially what it is, right, is you might be, Pulse, you might be.
Well, I'm still here, so.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. You're not alone. You're not alone.
That's okay. Accessibility is for everyone, and I mean that literally, not just sarcastically.
Yeah. It's like I've been telling people all this time, and Wolf can testify to this. One person's accessibility feature is another person's quality of life.
Yeah.
Elite Dangerous, for example, the docking computer situation.
Yeah. Many people I know who play Elite, they just use the docking computer when they don't feel like trying to squeeze a big fat Type 9 through a tiny little mail slot.
Coming soon from my ship.
Sound fun?
Yeah, like the Elite Dangerous. Yeah, that's the best example off the top of my head. But other games do it really well as well with making their games accessible. But I really think in general, screen readers or text to speech in games would be amazing to help people. Like even in RPGs, your inventory screen and
inventory screens.
I know.
Yeah. Don't get me started on inventory screens.
I'm a big Japanese RPG fan, and sifting through
inventory screens. Okay, inventory screens, stat screens, leveling screens, stat distribution screens. Pretty much any screen in a good JRPG.
And JRPGs are like the best genre of games. They're nice, meaty, 40, 50, 100 hours long, and like at least on PC, which really are everywhere. But you should have, if I have NVDA open, why not let it follow my mouse cursor or my cursor of my controller?
That would be nice.
Ironically, there are a couple of games on PC that do have good text-to-speech and screen reading options.
Yeah.
Skullgirls is one. Sequence Storm is another. Nope. Not at all, Pulse.
Yeah, but those games do, but none of your bigger, like, AAA titles do.
Yeah. It's
like,
almost like the indies went like, hey, we can solve this problem, and the AAA is like, problem? I don't see a problem.
Like,
exactly.
I'm a big Bamco fan. Like, Tales of Arise. I am hyped for Tales of Arise. Scarlet Nexus, the end of June. I'm hyped for that.
Again, Japanese company.
But that's the same with RPGs. Bethesda like, RPGs don't.
I don't know why I bought Bethesda. They might start now that Microsoft took the reins.
Oh, I'm sure they probably will. But that's not going to help any other classic games like Skyrim, Morrowind, Oblivion, Fallout 4, 3, New Vegas.
But, like, here's the deal. Here's the deal, though, right? And this is what I'm getting at, right? Over here in the U.S., we expect, or have come to expect, companies or devs or places to bend over backwards to try to accommodate us. Whereas overseas, they have a different mindset, a different mentality about it.
Yeah.
Essentially, if you can meet society in the middle, they will meet you in the middle. Yeah. Which is why these apps, like you mentioned, exist, because that's their way of meeting people with disabilities in the middle. It's still on them to do all of the navigation, to actually get out and find their way around and take those steps out into the big scary world. They're not expecting things to be handed to them, and they're not demanding it either, and in return, society and the culture are meeting them in the middle and not even really discussing the fact that they have disabilities in the first place.
And the company's got to learn that, you can't be just expecting them to, accessibility needs to be a priority, but they're not going to just build the whole game around it. They need to find ways to incorporate it, but still fully follow the original vision. If it's supposed to be a brutal game where you have 1 HP and taking a wrong step on a 2-inch stair kills you, okay, but you got to find a way. Try to find ways to make it, go with your vision. You got to have a way to make it accessible. And if there's no difficulty options, if it only goes from that to you take 1 step, and if you don't do it right, you die. Okay, but companies have to find a way to do their vision of the games and still accommodate.
There's still a stigma around that, I think, too, in that people view accessibility options like high contrast modes and things like that as making the game too easy, and it's obviously not that way for us. For us, it makes the game playable so that we can compete with other players, because we don't start out in the same playing field that other players do, and that's fine. Nobody is the same. We're all very different.
But I'm saying I don't
forcing you to use those contrasts.
I don't want them to, like, some people like easy modes, make the games easier, give us story only difficulties. No, if you don't plan to have those difficulties, fine, give me the same challenge. Just help me find ways to come. I don't want the game to be easier because I have a vision problem. Exactly. I don't want to open up Dark Souls or Bloodborne and the game be easy. I want it to be just as hard for me as it is for everyone else, but I want it also to be where someone with good vision can't go in and use it too, to make it easier for them. I want some sort of system to where it's just as hard for all of us, but there's ways to help us out. Like, I get the whole, and some people, but if you add accessibility, it'll make, people will exploit it. Find a way that it doesn't. There's systems you can do.
My question, how can you exploit a sound cue that goes along with an animation to signify an attack?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I get that, but the truth is that people are going to exploit these things anyway. It's not something that we can completely stop, is really the point too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even for multiplayer titles.
The biggest thing that that I push for, right, is things that improve the experience for everyone, disability or not.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily things that adjust difficulty or even affect gameplay much at all. I just try to be like, hey, this area here could use another audio cue or a better audio cue because it's hard to hear, or maybe the contrast on this bar isn't very good. You might want to tweak that, or maybe for certain types of games, a way to blur the background out and darken it a little bit so that the foreground pops out more. It doesn't make the game easier because things are still coming at you at the same speed and you still have to react at the same speed. But it...
We have designed mini-map with a quest tracker that shows between multiple zones. That's the biggest flaw in Final Fantasy XIV.
But it does assist you and become quality of life for those who don't necessarily need it as an accessibility feature.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things I push for whenever I push for game accessibility. I don't go as hardcore as some of these other freaking advocates that are just like, oh, easy mode, give us invincibility and vulnerability or whatever, here, have this.
Like, I think that, honestly, developers that go that route, that's more of a slap in the face of, because you have a disability, you can't do it. That's enjoy the game, but you can't do it the way everyone else does. So, here.
I mean, it's funny, like, I praise The Last of Us 2 for what they did, but they also slapped us in the face a little bit.
Now, I have an argument on the other side of that, little devil's advocate, because yes, we have disabilities in that we have a visual impairment, are legally blind, etc., etc. But there are people who have other disabilities, like maybe their processing speed is not as fast, so maybe they do need things like invulnerability to make the game playable for them. And I think that's fine in first-person games. Like, everybody deserves that option if that's how they want to play the game, because they're buying the game for them, not for everybody else. So just keep that in mind too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is
I mean, it is fair. Not gonna lie, I'm an old school gamer. I used to use invincibility cheats.
Oh yeah,
I'll admit
definitely have used that before.
But I don't think it's something that should just be like, to me, it's, I don't know. It's like having it there. But there needs to be a reason to not, for people who don't need it, to not use it. And some people, especially a heavily story-driven game, will just do that. But then you also got to...
I would argue that turning it on should nullify achievements or make certain achievements unobtainable. But then there's other people that would, that have these slower processing speeds, and they're just going to argue, but my achievements...
I mean, you got to think, though, especially if we're talking about a story game. Like I said, they're buying the game for themselves and for their own personal enjoyment. Why should they not be able to enjoy it however they want? I mean, yes, I, of course, am all for a good challenge and all that, but my challenge is different than somebody else's challenge.
That's like, the point. I am cool with that, right? Like, I'm cool with that. But, like, here's where I'm coming from is, if it is within your vision to do so, and you are designing a story-rich game... Yeah. That you don't really care if people breeze through everything with invulnerability or something like that. That it's all a part of the story, and not so much the gameplay. Then by all means, add it.
I just thought of a solution. You don't have to make it easy. When you design a game, build in a secondary option to like, let's say it's a real-time combat. Let me pause the combat and go in and pre-plan my abilities, and then my character will chain them up. Let me pause, the combat at any time, so I can stop and think. Not every game works
well with that, though. Not every combat system would work well with that, though. That's the problem.
I think that's also why we have so many different genres of games. Like, there's so many different, like what you're talking about is a strategy type game, and that's great. People love those kinds of games. I don't like those kinds of games, and that's fine.
I'm thinking of, like, similar to there's a few different just traditional RPGs that you can run around. You can attack real time, or you can go in the option and pick your attack and the game pauses. Like Knights of the Old Republic, for example, I can go in and pick all my attacks real time and hop between companions and play real time. Or I can go in and queue up 6-7 attacks and swap to another character, queue up what I want them to do, and play it more like a turn-based RPG. And then press play and everyone does their attacks, and you have the choice whether you want to go more real time, or more, or more of a slower paced turn-based. Even Final Fantasy 15 did that. You could play in wait mode and kind of pick what attacks you want people to do, or you could play in a fully real combat system. Like, if you plan around accessibility and when you're designing your game and give multiple styles of combat, then everybody could enjoy the game without just super easy mode. Like, at least in my mind, that'd be a perfect option. It's
like I can see a way. I can see a way to make even Dark Souls accessible with it, with its brutal, crushing difficulty and the slower reaction times and pacing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe have a combat speed setting where whenever you get within a range of a certain range of an enemy, or an enemy attack comes, like you are attacked by an attack of any sort, whenever it gets within a certain range of you, time slows down for a bit and lets you take the time, and then you can select what you want to do from like a list of options, like roll left.
Yeah.
Then whenever you confirm that, time speeds back up, you get that auto roll in, and you've got more than enough time, like an extra maybe 15, 20 seconds or so, to realize, hey, this attack's coming at me. Maybe I should do something about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are solutions. And yes, they involve a little more work from the developers, but then their original vision of the game can be played by everybody.
Mm-hmm.
The original difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, exactly. Final Fantasy VII Remake's another thing. Like, yeah, they had the difficulties, but you could put it in classic mode and it'd pause between every attack, and you could play it more like a more similar to a turn-based RPG and have time to think about everything and stop the combat. Like, it's just
pauses whenever somebody's ATB gauge fills up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it's just, to me, like, things like that, that's good design. That's awesome.
Like, it's what I'm getting at, though. Like, I definitely see both sides of the argument on things like invulnerability, invincibility. Like, as an old school gamer, I personally miss having features like that in my games. I miss it. Because I used to turn it on. I would play as much as I could without it, and then I'd turn it on for sections that I just couldn't get past, or that frustrated the crap out of me. I'd turn it on and enjoy the satisfaction of utterly destroying it while being completely invincible.
Which, at least with Bethesda RPGs, you got the console, which you can do all. You can still do all that kind of stuff. If you just gotta look, at least on PC, you gotta just look up what the console commands are.
Yeah, but it doesn't help the crappy contrast with that frickin' magic eye ability that points you to your next quest or objective or whatever. It doesn't solve that.
Well, there's always the move to QT, which is move to quest target command.
But then that takes the fun out of exploring and seeing what kind of trouble I can get lost in along the way.
Well, when you want to explore, you just explore and you go around killing shit and dicking off. And when you're questing, you're questing.
But I like exploration in the pursuit of the quest.
Mm-hmm. Which the beauty of Bethesda at least is, there are mods to fix that. The community, and that's where, to me, it's better if the developer does it. But to me, on a scale of 1 to 100, it's perfect if the developer does it. But it's only not even 0.5% worse if the community does it, because that just shows the game has a passionate community that cares, and that's even sometimes better.
I guess you're right.
Because the community will do some things that developers won't, because they don't got to get paid for it. Some of the mods for Bethesda games that make the contrast better or accessibility. That to me, that means more because someone did that who wasn't just trying to make money. They did it because they wanted more people to enjoy the game. And I think that's badass.
Yep.
In my Skyrim, I have a mod where any books I haven't read in the environment, they glow.
Ooh,
or any books that you encounter, so I can tell where there's a book that might give me something, might be a skill book or something. I have mods to make crafting materials and stuff glow and have audio cues. There's all kinds of awesomeness, that make their games more playable. If I'm getting close to an ore node, there's a sound effect that accompanies that with my modded Skyrim. If I'm trying to mine, So, and I think that's awesome that the community can dial that kind of stuff in when you're playing on a PC with certain games. And then to me, that means more. I prefer the developers to do it, but when the community can get involved and make a game accessible, that means something, because that means some people who can see enough to go in and actually code and develop a mod. They cared enough to get all that working so more people could experience the title. Let me see. Let's see.
I'm sorry. I got caught up looking for something.
Okay.
I was looking for anything that could tie into your Guild Wars 2 account and offer sort of spoken alerts similar to what EDDI does for Elite Dangerous.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, that's another thing. EDDI, that's a community-ran project.
I was just looking through some of this GAAD stuff. Found Xbox's notification announcement, and was looking through that.
Be right back.
Do what?
Anyways, I'll do some more digging later. But yeah, those voice notifications like EDDI adds to Elite are a godsend. They tell me what system I jump to, what all the faction states are whenever I jump into the system. Stuff that I would normally have to spend 15, 20 extra minutes trying to read.
Mm-hmm.
I just have it read to me the moment I jump into a system.
Nice.
It's very, very glorious. So we've talked a lot today already about video games. What about content creation? How's that been impacted by disability?
That's a fun challenge, I think. There's so many. Sorry.
That's all good. Making me
There's
about
so
to yawn
many.
too.
I know. I'm so sorry. It's so contagious. There's so many little challenges in creating videos, especially that are visual, as someone who is, visually impaired or legally blind or whatever word choice you want to use. But setting up your scene and getting the lighting right, doing everything right, and then getting to the editing point, which is my least favorite part of content creation.
What do you use to edit?
I've used a couple different programs. Right now, I swapped back to Adobe Premiere Elements, and it's the most stable that I've used so far. But it's just not my favorite task.
Hello, new person in chat. How goes it?
Yeah, I personally, when it comes to editing, I like the Apple stuff. Final Cut, iMovie.
Yeah,
but that's not Windows.
Like the main reason I haven't done anything really heavily edited here on YouTube yet is because I haven't found a video editor that I like that works well enough with my disability.
Yeah.
With me being a low vision.
You know what? The sad part is I don't even want a lot because I can use a video editor with magnifier, but I want a dark interface, and Premiere Elements, which is affordable, and by affordable, I mean not $300, has this super light interface, and it is just jarring.
Mm-hmm.
But I swapped to another one.
Too.
Yes, probably for the same reason, I'm sure.
But, dark mode was the best thing computers ever added.
Agreed. I tried another one, and it led to like some technical issues. I was super excited because it had a super dark interface. It was wonderful. It felt like it was easy to work through and flow through whatever process I needed to do. But then I had technical difficulties with it. Some of my videos were doing weird things, and I had to go back to Premiere Elements for now, which I'm sad about because my version is like from 2018, so it's not even got the capability to make a vertical video, which is, very popular right now with YouTube Shorts and with TikTok and with stories and things like that. But yeah, it's frustrating.
Do you remember which one it was that you had the technical difficulties with?
I still have it. It's Cyber Director. Or Power Director, sorry, by Cyberlink, I believe. Yeah. It was also affordable and came highly recommended, but the weird issues I had with not just one video, but more than one was just...
Mm-hmm.
It was a little crazy. I'm like, really? For all these highly recommended, high rated recommendations, it blew my mind, and I was very frustrated.
Yeah. Have you looked at DaVinci Resolve?
Not yet. It's next on my list.
I would, and if you do, let me know how it goes. I tried it. It's a bit too visually cluttered for me.
Yeah, some of the reviews said that, but once you get into video editing and you sort of learn which things do which process or which thing you are trying to do, it's a little easier to decide.
And most editors let you customize the interface and turn things on and off and move them. Now you got two monitors. Most editors will let you move stuff between both monitors. Like move your video preview to your right monitor, and you can declutter. Yes. But you have to do that yourself, and move interface elements and learn how to do that.
Oh yeah, that's part of the process. But the good news is there's so many tutorials online. Mm-hmm. That is really the reason I'm able to do anything. So thank you, internet.
Yeah, and but the whole editing thing, that's why part of me is always, wants to be that console gamer who runs on Mac OS. But then the other part of me, there's too many good PC games to play.
Yeah. It's hard to overlook. You just can't overlook PC if you're a gamer. You just can't. I mean, you can be a console gamer, and that's fine, but there's so much available on PC.
I mean, I'll say for me, the games I'm interested in, 99% of them are on console as well.
Yeah. Well, again, there's nothing wrong with gaming on console if that's what you prefer.
I just see I've always been the guy. I prefer the Apple operating system. I wish I could run all my PC games on a Mac.
Somewhere someone's cringing at that comment.
Hey, I don't care. I'm who I am. I like the Apple stuff. The only reason I didn't keep the MacBook I had to go toward this PC is that the dual core i3 in it couldn't keep up with what I needed. I need one of those new Apple M1 Macs.
Well, you really just need more than 2 cores if we're being honest. But
yeah, just a bit. I mean,
4-thread 10th gen i3, and I could do one thing at a time. Like if I had, the biggest thing is like I've been learning music production, like in Pro Tools, and the second I would add, I'm a drummer, so I've got my whole drum kit mic'd up. The second I'd add my whole set of drum mics, and just recording would be fine. But when you're layering in multiple plugins and effects, and you still got your web browser open in the background, maybe you're following a tutorial and trying to learn, the fans would rev up and it would bog down. It's like,
well, I mean, the sad part is with Apple, you don't really get the option to upgrade. You generally have to buy a whole new computer, whereas obviously on PC you could have upgraded your processor, and most likely with an older processor that might have been very affordable, but
not in laptops anymore. Most of that's all soldered. Well, that was a laptop.
I didn't think about it being a laptop. That's true. Yeah, laptops are all
and I was running it in clamshell mode, closed, and using it like a desktop. It was a great computer, but it's a MacBook Air, not a MacBook Pro. And up until the M1, the new Macs, the Air was super underpowered. You needed a Pro if you're going to get a laptop. But now with the new architecture, the cheapest MacBook Air and the Mac Mini, the $700 Mac Mini is outperforming the last generation $3,000 iMac for $700. Like, yeah.
But I mean, my real point was that you wouldn't even need that big of an upgrade from that, because I run an i5, but I got one of the first i5s where they started going to 6 cores instead of 4. So even that is just such a huge upgrade from 2 cores, you know?
Have a good sleep.
Yep. But yeah, I fully get what you're saying. My current system is a Ryzen 3700X, so 8 core, 16 thread.
Oh yeah.
I just Windows just holds me back. I guess I got used to the workflow. Even Linux, personally, I feel like I'm faster in just the way the work. But Mac especially, the trackpad gestures and flicking between desktops and scrolling with the scroll wheel on the mouse, and I wish Windows was more gesture based and we're fine tuned with 20 years of development of their gestures, because that's. And that's where, in terms of accessibility, Windows is great, but I feel like as much legacy stuff as they keep holding around, that's also holding the OS back in terms of future development and becoming a better platform for everybody. We don't need stuff in our OS that's from before about 2015 or 14. Maybe a few compatibility layers for some games and software, but there's too much ancient code in Windows.
I do kind of agree with that.
Yeah, it holds. To me, it's holding the development of everything back. In turn, So, and then they don't want to fix bugs. I know I told you about it, Glitch, but have I told some other people here may not have heard about this? Windows Magnifier, for about the past 2 years, ever since they redesigned it, in a few versions of Windows back, they took away the old Windows 7 magnifier and rebuilt the interface. I've had a bug ever since then. If I have a monitor on the left-hand side, instead of my main monitor being on the right and my other monitor on the left, the second I mouse over to the left monitor, every time I move the mouse around, it shakes. And I've reported the bug every single build of Windows. and it's still here 2 years later. It's like Microsoft, they do great in terms of like the adaptive controller, but accessibility built into Windows 10, they need to kick it into gear. They need to do 2 years of work and then some, and get it on par with the Mac.
I use a dual monitor setup.
I do too.
Yeah.
But if I'm zoomed in and I move back, if my main monitor is my left monitor or my right monitor, and my left monitor is my second, every time you move the mouse up or down, it just starts shaking from left to right really, really fast and gives you a headache.
Here's the weird thing is, I mean, I obviously, with so many different components to Windows, like, we're not all gonna have the same problems. But I've never seen that problem, and I'm pretty sure I swapped the order of my monitors at least once by accident when I was.
That's what's weird to me is in the past 2 years, I've had probably 8 or 9 different desktops. I've had several graphics cards. I've used the laptops, and every single machine's had that bug.
So weird.
And I've never seen it. As long as I've had full screens, which isn't very long, I've never seen it.
And your left monitor is your primary glitch? Or your right? Huh. Because, that's what it would do whenever... matter of fact, I will, because it won't take me that long, I'm going to swap the order of my screens, and I'll grab a quick video clip and post in Discord for you guys.
My primary is my right one. I just had to check because I don't remember. But I know I've swapped them around before.
And that's when I have the problem, when my right one's the primary.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know then. I mean, it could be exactly what you're talking about. It could be some other tiny random fragment of code causing the issue. Who knows? That's the frustrating part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it's weird and like here. I don't know how well that's gonna show it. I'm just trying to get it. And is it really not doing? Or nope, there it is. Hang on. But yeah, it's been the weirdest thing. And I don't know why. And like, I've sent Microsoft feedback things and with video footage in the past, and it's like they still haven't. And I've thought the same thing. Whenever I first had the bug, I reinstalled Windows.
Yeah.
And it still was there. But if I go back to the version of Windows before that, 1909, so it was before the 2004 updates when they made the change.
Interesting.
And and if I go back to 1909 with the old version of Magnifier, everything's fine.
Well, seeming as how everyone's either getting tired or slipping away, and we've pretty much hit all the topics, I think now's a good time to call it.
Yeah, that was a good discussion.
Because we've already started derailing, if you know what I mean.
Well, I was still talking about accessibility, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I was trying to keep it on the point of accessibility, but broaden, not, OS design goes with it.
Yeah, it does.
We have to rely on our computers.
Oh, yeah.
All right, back to Valley.
But yeah, I'm thinking, about an hour and a half. Good length of time.
Oh, it was.
Don't want the video to get too long.
It was an hour.
Well, still, don't want the video to get too long, otherwise people won't want to stick around till the end.
Mm-hmm.
So, go ahead and tell people where they can find you guys.
Okay. Yeah, for me, you can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/c/blindspar. And I'm Blind PC Guy. Channel rebrand happened about a week ago. Video coming on that in the future. And on Discord, of course. So, and Twitter, Blindsbar, at Blindsbar on Twitter.
I am at Danny Marie AUC everywhere. So YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok even. I am pretty much universally Danny Marie AUC. So.
Oh yay, TikTok, that anti-disability platform. Woohoo. That's a story for another day.
Oh yeah, there's a weirdly huge blind community on TikTok though. It's interesting.
I'm surprised they haven't gotten buried into oblivion yet.
Well, either way, everybody, I had a blast. We got food ready, so it was perfect timing, Glitch.
Hey, that's what's up.
Yeah, but yeah, there's the video in general. By the way, you can.
I'm probably gonna log back into Elite after this and enjoy stretching my space legs.
Are you still gonna be in VC? If so, I'll pop back in the voice with you after I eat.
I'll probably slide up to General, to the chill spot.
All right. Check out that video though, you guys. I want y'all to see that bug I've been having for years.
Anyways,
later, y'all.
Thank you guys for stopping in. I'll be back Monday, and I don't know what I'll be playing, but I'll be playing something.